still going. What I'm going to say is like saying 5 minutes from each school and then a chance to sort of
Can you take that somewhere?
Responses.
Where?
We've tried to
Make
sure they give you the key information first of all. What I can say is there's not one school that is doing the same. So some of you are doing all live, some are doing no live, some are doing mix and match, some are using Teams, some are using Google Classroom, some are using Class Dojo. The variety is really, really noticeable. But what is really clear is there is this ongoing commitment to replicate the experience of school in as many ways as you can. And that means certain schools have prioritised one way and then others have prioritised another. So I just think everybody is just working really hard to have an effective remote offer at the current situation. I learned lots. It brought to mind, there's a quote by Professor Rob Coe, which is used on the EEF website quite a lot. And he's talking about interventions, but it's like every intervention works somewhere, but not every intervention works everywhere. And I'm sort of going to borrow that idea because it seems to me that the approaches that work for you and your community may not necessarily transfer. But I think what I hope we get from the end of this session is some understanding of the core principles and the general move. There's definitely a move towards adopting certain approaches. So I hope that we all go away having enjoyed hearing the brilliant stuff that's going on in Sandwell. I cannot tell you how proud I am of Sandwell. I have quite a lot to do with other areas. Sandwell schools are just really ahead of the game in the way they're tackling this. So I hope you go away also with a rosy glow about how good you are doing as a Sandwell schools. Okay, now Liz and Josie are going to monitor the chat. If you want to put things in the chat, let schools do their 5 minutes and then we'll also open it up to hands up when it's open. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce and start first of all with St. Paul's. And so if St. Paul's would like to step up to the screen and start off, that would be really good.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and we've just put our notes on a PowerPoint, so I'll just try and share that so you can.
Right, so it's Elena and Sally Ann and Anna who were had the conversations with. So over to St. Paul's. That's great. We can see your screen. That's super. Thank you. Over to you.
Do you want me to start, Sally?
Yeah, if you want to do that bit, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, lovely to see you all virtually. So St. Paul's is a one-form entry school. We had experience with bubble closures in October time, so our year 2 and year 6 bubbles shut for about a week and a half, and that gave us time to really practice using live learning, using Teams, and work out the routines and expectations. And then we used the feedback we got from parents, using that to help us understand how we were going to set up live learning during this lockdown. So we set Teams up in October for the school and staff had training on it, and we used it for staff meetings, and we also started to use it for worships and things like that. So we had quite a lot of experience before lockdown in January. We got about 20 laptops from the DFE, and we also purchased about 40 new tablets to be given out for home learning alongside the 15 tablets we already had. So any children who didn't have access to a device or had more than one child at home could have that access. All of our vulnerable and EHCP children have been invited into school, and most of these have taken up this offer. So they are working with their one-to-one TAs, or they are in class, so they are continuing to get their education that way. We've got our class bubbles still running, so all staff are in school with our teachers and LSPs working from school and delivering also to home. And we use Teams as a learning platform, but all the children have a set of free books at home, so English, maths and afternoon books. And these are returned on a fortnightly basis. so that we can use them to help us understand children's work. We can mark them, and they get a new set of books sent home then. So we have like 2 sets of books, one in, one out, and we mark them, and then we can help us understand and improve our teaching at home. Over to you, Sally.
Thank you. So we've found that our engagement has been really good. We've got 90% plus, and anybody that isn't joining in online, they are having paper copies of work sent out, and anybody that isn't joining in is being chased daily. And we've found those who aren't engaging, it's because they're ill themselves or parents are ill. So our engagement has been really high, and ways we've tried to ensure that it is kept high, where teachers are giving a range of activities, so not always written activities. They're a mix between written and practical. So for example, year 4, we paid for like a tour of the aquarium, which linked to their topic. So we're just trying to think of different ways to keep the children engaged. And then we introduced a catch-up session because we found our live lessons didn't give us enough time to actually talk to the children and just catch up with them. So we use this session once a week to share good work and model good practice, which keeps the children engaged, because if they can see their work is going to appear on the catch-up PowerPoint, they enjoy it, so they're engaged to get the work completed. And one of our key things is still using positive praise. So we still choose a weekly principal award, and they get a certificate sent home. We still give out merits. So if they get their 10 merits, they get a certificate sent home. And we choose a times table rock star of the week and a spelling shed, like a speller of the week, and that all that information goes on the newsletter. So we're just trying to do little bits to ensure the children are still engaged.
So we sent out an acceptable user policy in October, which set out our expectations of using Teams right from the start. Every child was set up with a class email to use Teams on, so that parents could then contact our class email, so not our personal work email, our class email for questions and queries. And we use this to send the work out daily. So at the start of every day, we'll attach all of the PowerPoints and worksheets that will be needed for that day, and also reminding of what the lessons will be that day. We have really strict timings on contact hours, and parents are aware that emails won't be responded to outside of those hours. So if anything comes in after 3 o'clock, it won't be responded till the next day, to make sure that we've still got that work-life balance. And some children in some classes are sending work in on email so that we can mark it virtually and then send that feedback out straight away, which is working really well. I know we've got some examples on the PowerPoint from year 6 where that has been achieved. I know Sally has done quite a lot of that herself.
Yeah, we also found with the acceptable user policy, we didn't have all of the parents sign at the beginning, but when we had our closures for year 2 and year 6, obviously word spread how good the lessons were, and everything was really positive. So we found we actually had more parents sign up then after our bubble closures in October. What we're teaching as well, we're not doing any old content. We are still doing new learning. We're following our medium and long-term plans as if school was open as normal. We're using all our same resources. So we use Power Maths for maths, which we're still following. We do Wordsmith for English. So our curriculum is just as if school was open. The same with PowerPoints. We share our PowerPoints like we are now. But for teachers, that's what we usually do for our planning. We upload our PowerPoint slides, so there hasn't been any extra workload for staff, because it's what we usually do. And the lessons are still child-led, so the children are active. It's not just us talking to a screen, which is again the structure we follow in school. One thing we found as teachers from the live lessons, it gives us the chance to address any misconceptions. So if the children are struggling or they've got a question, we can answer it there and then and address any issues that they may have. And as we mentioned earlier, with the paper packs, those children who do have a paper pack, they're having exactly the same work as the live lesson. So everybody's getting that equal experience. Nobody's being left behind. And again, our lessons are progressive throughout the week. So in English, we're focusing on a text, giving the lessons a purpose instead of just standalone lessons here and there. Everything has got a progressive journey.
So we've made sure that we've shared as a staff tips and techniques of how to use Teams, about sharing our videos, because it was still rather new to us in January and some members of staff have used it more before. So we made sure that we did meetings to share that best practices. We do make sure that the majority of our lessons are live, but we also use 2 Oak National Academy lessons once a week. And we always log on at the start of the lessons to take a register and to discuss the tasks and to show the children where to access, which does increase the amount of work that's done because they've already had the normal layout of a lesson set out for them. They do the date and the waltz, and then they go straight into that task when the live lesson finishes. We really try to make sure that we're keeping some consistency between what we would normally have done at school and what we do live learning. So we're still using lollipop sticks to ensure that a range of children are being spoken to. We use a lot of the same resources, so phonics song that's used is used at home as well. Dear time is done in EYFS, and there's a lot of nursery rhyme videos that would have been shared normally as well. All staff have got access to a graphics tablet, which we can use to help us edit and annotate our slides as if we were using a screen in class. So it's really helpful so we can model our expectations. If we're doing any writing, we can show that. If we're doing maths, we can show the working out for that. And these routines have been fully embedded across the school, even with our youngest children. So the children know no microphones and cameras during the live lessons. We use the raise hand feature if they've got any questions and they want to talk to us. And we've got those really strict times. The children know when they come on and what time those lessons are every single day.
So when we were creating our timetable, we had to think about our siblings who may share a device at home. So we follow the timetable that's below there. So we have every day we have an English and maths lesson, and in Key Stage 1, that English lesson includes a phonics input. Then we have a live lesson on a Monday and a Wednesday, which is based on our cornerstones topic, and then a science live lesson. A Tuesday and a Thursday are our Oak National Academy lessons. One of them is an RE because we are a Church of England school, and then the other one is linked to our topic as much as it can be. Then we introduce the catch-up session on a Monday, and on a Wednesday we've just introduced like a guided reading intervention, but we tried to make sure that our timetable still has breaks in there for snack time and lunchtime, so they're not on the screen all day. And then we've uploaded, we've just had our timetables done, and we've uploaded them to the website, and it does say on there our timings are strict for the live lessons, so they're the same each day, but obviously we understand with demands at home the independent activity they can fit in around them. So we teach 30 minutes online and then we set an independent activity to complete at home, and we just direct the children to our online timetable, Rockstars, Spelling Shed, Book Club, and then the Ninja vocabulary there as well.
So we just got some examples here of some of the work that's been returned. So these are in the books that have come in every fortnight, and some of the pieces are ones that have been emailed in and have been marked by the teacher, then emailed back. So these are pieces from Year 6. And then we've got another few pieces. So you can see some of them are from the Oak National Academy. And we try really hard to focus on our kinetic letters, as that's the scheme we use across school for handwriting, and making sure that we follow our marking policy the same as we would in school, so the children are getting that consistency. And it's not just written tasks, there are creative tasks being done as well. And yeah, it's a high range of tasks. We've been really impressed by the work that's been done by the children. It's very of a high quality, so it's been really, really nice to see.
Okay, and then for our next step, so thinking about where we're moving after half term, we're looking at ways to enrich the curriculum, so curriculum enrichment days. As we mentioned, Year 4 had that tour, so it wasn't just a video, we actually paid for a tour, so the man guided them around the aquarium, and they really enjoyed that. Again, we used the cornerstones for our and they all come with a hook and a memorable experience. So we're trying to think now if there's anything we can all do as teachers to link in to make sure they're still having that hook and that memorable experience. And all subject leaders have been asked to look at upcoming events. So far, we've already done Safer Internet Day this week. We've got plans for World Book Day, Fair Trade Fortnight, World Maths Day, the NSPCC Numbers Day, and all of our children have been set a science STEM activity as well. So those are the ones we've just got coming up. And the same with...
And then we've also...
Sorry. The same with our interventions. I said we set up the guided reading one, but we're thinking now how we can use our LSPs during an afternoon to target any children who may be struggling, just so they can work through the tasks with them more on a one-to-one basis. And then our last one, we're introducing after half term less screen time. So one afternoon will be more like a wellbeing afternoon where the children aren't online, so they're not looking at the screen. So it's going to be more of a practical based activity, which will be set by the teachers, but it just reduces the time the children are spending on screen. And I think that's everything.
Thank you very much, Sally-Ann and Elena. One of the things that really struck me when I was talking with St Paul's last week, I'd just listened to a podcast with Alex Quigley, who was talking to Harry Fletcher Wood about changing behaviour. And it really sort of resonated with me was when Anna was describing the acceptable user policy, was that Harry Fletcher Wood described actually when we're pursuing motivation and engagement, motivation's very fickle. It's very dependent upon how you're feeling at the time. And it's very hard to like motivate all 30 children at the same time. Whereas what we should be focusing on is habit formation and being really clear about what the expectations are and how to, and how to have those habits. So I thought when, Anna was saying that, it was like, we expect you to be up. And I know I don't think that this is now necessarily followed through, but I think Wood Green was saying at one stage you should be wearing a uniform, but it's around looking at building habits and replicating what's in school, which I thought was something that like Anna had bitten that bullet sort of thing. No, is that the right word? Right at the start in October before things went to where we are now. Thank you. And I've seen Kate ask a question. How are staff coping with providing so much feedback all in one go? 2 weeks worth of work must take a huge amount of mark time.
We I think we sent out like stationery packs as well. So even we did find at first they were recording everything in their exercise book. So in our live lesson, any questions we were doing, they were recording all that in exercise books, where usually in school that would be on whiteboards. So I think the first time we had the books back, there was a lot of work there, and especially in maths, they were using the exercise books more as a journal. So we noticed that, and then we sent out stationery packs so the children have whiteboards now. So during the live lesson, a lot of that work is recorded on a whiteboard, and then it is just their activity in their exercise books. And they are shared, the marking is shared obviously between the teacher and the LSP. So it has been manageable, especially since we sent out those stationery packs. And obviously if the children are sending in their work electronically, then we're marking that there and then and giving feedback straight away.
And I did ask like the teachers, and not just relied on what the head teacher said about the workload, didn't I, Sally-Ann? I did tell, just to actually sort of make sure that that our perception of what the workload is might be different from the reality of it. Thank you very much, Sally-Ann and Elena. That's really good, and I'm just really pleased to see how you're sort of pursuing further things. Okay, I've got Jane and Emma from All Saints now, if you'd like to.
Hi Lisa, it's just Jane, unfortunately.
Oh, just Jane, is it right? Okay,
yeah,
hi Jane.
this little boy's bad, so it's just myself. So hello everybody, I'm going to try and share my screen if I can. I know with all the technical problems. A little bit of a different format to a PowerPoint. Can everybody see that? I'm aware it's quite small.
Yeah, I can see that. No,
it's just how we decided to sort of show our journey, really. I'll try and make it a little bit bigger. I can provide this after if anybody wants to have a look at it. So I know I've only got 5 minutes and I do like to talk, so I'll go as quick as I possibly can. Just a bit of background just in relation to the context and things of our school, really. So we're a 2 form-entry school with about 470 pupils, including nursery on roll. We've had minimal bubble closures, which is pure luck, I think. We've had a year 3 and a year 6 class in the autumn term that had siblings in that had to close, and just before Christmas we had 1 reception class, so we've done quite well, really. We surveyed parents before lockdown in the autumn term to see who had access to what devices, and if they did have access, was it just on a phone? And we reconditioned 30 laptops during the autumn term, and obviously we got some from the DFE as well. We had iPads, so we were able to get those out to families in readiness, so they had them, you know, ready to go should we go into any sort of other lockdown, and use them for homework and things in the meantime. And then what we've done is, since we've gone on to the remote learning during this lockdown, we've got the Insight tool on Teams, which I'll come on to in a moment. But it helps us to drill down further and to see who isn't engaging and troubleshoot, because quite often it is just a technical issue where once we've taught them through, that the families are off and they're okay. So we use Teams to deliver all of our lessons. They're all pre-recorded. We don't do any live lessons. We do them on a smartboard format, so how we'd normally present lessons in school, because children are familiar with this and so are teachers, so it wasn't too big a leap. But we upload them to Teams. We don't do live lessons purely because we sort of surveyed parents and spoke with parents, and there was a lot of demand on parents at home. A lot of our families are sharing devices with older siblings who maybe have live lessons in secondary school. Parents are working from home, so they were finding it very difficult to set time to support their children. So I will go just through that in just a moment when I follow our trajectory on the our learning journey on the screen, and just explain a little bit more how that works. It's a tiered approach to parental support. So we log on and we can see who's engaging through the Insight tool and who's only partly engaging, and we'll make wellbeing calls as teachers first of all to see, you know, it could be a really small issue, a really simple thing that will progress to SLT, or an office member of staff maybe just ringing to troubleshoot any technical issues. And then if there's still no further engagement, we do a home visit, and we have had, we've got really good take up, to be fair. We're at 95% engagement at the moment, so it is really good. But just for a couple of families, Jackie the head has then had a telephone appointment with them to discuss why they're not engaging, and it's quite a strict sort of letter that goes out really to say the expectations. But as I say, we've got 95% at the moment, so we're really pleased with that. So just to go through this journey then, so our journey started off obviously in the lockdown back in the summer term. We were using our video resource centre, which we set up on our website. So we were recording our lessons on Smart, which were all based on the gaps and the objectives that we weren't hitting because of the lockdown and people being at home. So we recorded them on Smart and we loaded them up to our website, and that was received really well. Students liked them because it was in a format they knew, parents liked them. However, we hadn't got a way then of seeing who was engaging and for children to actually be able to hand in their work. So hence the reason over the autumn term, we looked into which platform would be best and we went with Teams. And that meant that we could actually get the work sent out and give feedback to children and see who was logging in and really control and monitor that. All staff were trained in Teams over the autumn term, or children set up with passwords. So once that lockdown was announced, wasn't quite expecting it the following day, but once it was announced, we were able to sort of go straight away with our lessons. So a little bit similar to one of the schools, with teachers upload their Smart lessons every morning. So they load all the whole day's lessons in the morning, and they put a little welcome message on there. They tell children what's coming up during the day, what to expect. And then we load our videos via the stream service on Teams, because when we were just putting the video directly onto Teams at first, we found there's quite a few technical issues. So they go via the stream option on Teams, and that's been the best way for pupils to access them. Like I said, they're not live. They go on there so children can work through them at their own pace during the day. And what we did do at first, we removed them by the end of the week because we wanted to make sure people had time over the weekend to just sort of relax. But then parents asked us to keep them on over the weekend because for some parents, they wanted to sit with their child the weekend if they hadn't had chance to complete all the lessons during the week. So the lessons on Teams and the assignments don't close until 6 o'clock on a Sunday. But we find, to be honest, that most of our children hand them in during the week and that they've got really good and quick at that. We upload PDF documents. They're bespoke sheets that our teachers make for all the children to access for their tasks. And we asked children because we wanted to keep the handwriting going. We didn't want them just typing out their work on the assignments. We wanted to keep practicing handwriting, keep those standards. So children will take photos and upload that to Teams to send their assignments back, and we can see instantly who sent that back and give feedback. The teachers, because we're not teaching live lessons, teachers will work on a rotational basis of either being in school or at home, but that means they have got time to really produce quality creative lessons because they're not teaching live. So they do though stay on Teams throughout the day and they nip in and out and respond to pupil comments. So some, they might say, oh, I'm really struggling with this particular piece of maths, miss. And then, staff can go on and give group feedback, individual feedback, and just sort of, to sort of know next steps for those children. As I say, they're doing some real wealth of creative lessons, and we do teach the whole curriculum. So we upload every day. There's a maths and English, handwriting, there's phonics for the children that need it and spelling. And there's also, there's always at least one topic. So over the week, they'll have PSHE, RE, science, history, geography, whichever one they're doing. And they're all our own bespoke lessons. We don't use, not there's anything wrong with them, but we just chose not to use them from any of the other organisations. The teachers make them all themselves. So yeah, we give a logging off message at the end of the day, just when sort of school time would usually finish. And that's just to ensure that work-life balance and also manage families' expectations so they don't think that teachers are going to be available throughout the evening, because obviously I know some children would try and message otherwise via Teams. We give general feedback on Teams. There is an expectation that there's at least one piece of formal feedback per subject by the end of the week from teachers. But we do give that sort of informal feedback via Teams chat throughout the day. We do differentiate work like in class. So we'll do that by either setting different tasks, or we try and have the same high expectations for everybody. So what might happen is we say on the video, we'll say, if you're ready to go off now, you can carry on independently on your task. If you're still a little bit unsure, stay with me. And then the teachers will do like a bit more of bridging the gap, and they'll plan that into that lesson and into the lessons. So the children in school, they do exactly the same lessons. They've got iPads, or we use it by the smart screen. We bought everybody headphones back in September, every child a pair of headphones, so they can just link into the lessons that they need. Just going through. So any children that have got an EHCP plan, most of them are in school, but some because of health complications aren't. So their one-to-one staff record videos for those pupils based on their individual targets, so they get to access those at home to continue to make progress. We're sort of at a different point now, so you can see this is sort of where we are now. So we are really pleased with how it's gone in the engagement. So we're at a stage of developing, really continuing to develop in staff CPD. So where we've had a newly qualified teacher, we've been quality assuring as SLT, because we can do that via the Teams, which we found really useful. We can access every member's of staff's videos and lessons they're putting out there. So as SLT, we quality control, if you like, all the lessons. And where we've seen somebody that needs a little bit more support, we've worked with that teacher like we would normally in team talk, and given them ideas and examples of how we would teach that lesson to really bring that person on. So we're at a point now with just developing the insight tool further, just to really drill down. Teachers use that at a class level to have a look at who's engaging in their class, and because you can go on and see exactly which child has handed in what assignments, what they haven't handed in, what they might be struggling with, and they can use that as a tool. But SLT are also using that as a tool as well, and we just want to develop that further now. And we're also at a point now where subject leaders, they can actually have access to all the classes as well, and they're now starting to monitor their subject and produce virtual trawls. So I'll just, that screen, you won't be able to read it all. That's just where we're at really in terms of monitoring assessment for learning and our staff CPD. But on this one, if you can see that, we did a subject leader training day recently and just sort of demonstrated what we were looking for. So now subject leaders are also given extra time, so they are going on and monitoring their subjects so they can have a look, they can make hypotheses about their subjects to see the quality of what's going out there. So on the left here, if we're just about to see it, is a trawl that the art lead has put together from the art projects that were being done in year 5, and so she wanted to have a look at what the quality of what children were returning, and yeah, it was fabulous, really good. So sort of that's where we're at really now. It's that development of sort of subject leaders doing those trawls, drilling down further with insight and continuing to use it for staff CPD, as I've put on there. So I'm sorry, we've gone through that really quickly and I've probably missed loads, but is there anything else, Lisa, that we talked about that you think you wanted me to mention?
Well, thank you, Jane. I think what I found quite fascinating was that the choice by All Saints to not do anything live gave quite a lot of freedom to how staff use their time. So my initial question, I think, when I was listening to that is how do you manage the flow of work back? Whereas actually, if you're engaging in it live, you can respond in that sense. But it, like Jane said, it seems to be that it's not like Sunday at 6 p.m. everybody suddenly dumps all the work. It has actually there's been a natural rhythm to it. What I thought was, and what I asked Jane to particularly focus on, was with that flexibility, it's the way staff, particularly the subject leaders, are able to dig a little deeper and to sort of assess what is actually going on in their subject areas, as well as the SLT, just generally seeing what is available in the videos that teachers are uploading. So I think there's payoffs for whatever approach you take, but this I thought this was worth sharing. Has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask Jane about what she said? Several who might be interested. Insights is on the rise. So
I think it's like you said. I think because staff, it's how you want to do it, isn't it? There's no right or wrong. I think, like you said before, and it's finding the right thing for your school. But I think because we haven't got the pressure of live lessons, we have got a really good culture in school, and staff are trusted. They know what the expectations are, and we've brought them along on the journey, obviously all the way through. So they do just crack on, and they've got that scope then to produce, like I say, very bespoke and responding to children's work that comes in, and very bespoke lessons for our pupils, and in a way and a format that they're used to. And it's also, like you say, giving time to the subject leaders to still continue with what they would have done should we have been in school.
Yeah. And so Josie's asked if you'd be happy to share your presentation, Jane, if we can.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And I hope this goes for the other presenters, that the idea is that that do feel free to contact the schools or via me or just directly, because I think there's nuggets in everything that they're saying. Thank you very much, Jane. That's great.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Joe, would you like to? So Joe's U-Tree, and again, different package. So Joe, if over to you, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hello everyone, nice to see you all. I'm just going to talk to you through sort of using what Lisa sent us, that sort of guide of the structure. So there's sort of 4 or 5 parts to it. So background of the school, U-Tree, we're 3-form entry school, nursery up to 6. And the start of the year, we decided that we would appoint someone as the remote learning lead for the school in anticipation for more lockdowns and things happening, and that's fallen upon my shoulders. We started the EdTech demonstrator program, where we worked in partnership with Feasey Park Primary School, and that was up until Christmas. And then after Christmas, that sort of ended, but we decided to continue working with them and paid for a gold package, if you like, where we would work with them for 2 terms for that specific support. And that kind of bought us 10 half days of training with Feasey that we're going to be using throughout the next 2 terms. So that's sort of our introduction. What we do with our remote learning. So we've adopted a number of tools. So we already have Class Dojo set up where we communicate with the parents, and we have Zoom set up, which is where we do our sessions. We use OneNote as our main tool. We use OneNote as sort of an exercise book. We've created folders in that for maths, English, topic, everything across the board, RE, PE, you know, you name it, it's there. For EYFS, for nursery and reception, we use Tapestry, where it's all, you know, more hands-on, and the parents upload videos onto there. And for maths, we've also set up My Maths. So OneNote and My Maths came into effect from around October, where we decided to, after working with Feasey, to set up almost an online classroom, if you like. And since the lockdown has happened in January, we've used OneNote for all of the work. So we use My Maths to supplement it, but we set all the work through OneNote, put the tasks on OneNote, the children complete the tasks and the staff mark it all through the OneNote, with the occasional addition of My Maths. We had an inset day in October half term, where myself was able to give the staff the training in how to use OneNote, and we used it as for homework in the first instance, and set up the children with logins so that if anything like this was to happen, they were ready and they knew how to use it. And that sort of gave us that, what we felt, the head start, rather than trying to set them all up straight away within the first few weeks. And in November, we had year 3 and year 5 close for bubble closures. And that sort of led the way for the rest of the school then, to know what we were doing and to set up that sort of best practice, if you like, for the rest of the school. So what does it look like in our remote learning? Well, we replicate the whole timetable. So everything that they would be doing at school in a normal day, normal week, we do online. So that's 5 English and maths, 5 times table sessions, guided reading sessions, 4 topic sessions, 2 PE lessons, a science RE, PSHE and computing, exactly replicated what they would be doing at school. And that involves 2 registrations as well. So at 9 o'clock and 1:30, we do about a 20-minute registration with the children. And in the first registration, we also include the modelling for maths. In the afternoon registration, we include the modelling for topic. And then we also have a session at 10:30 where we model English as well. At the end of the day, for 3 of the 5 days, we also have assembly online with the whole year group. So we try and have 3 or 4 touch points where we see the children every single day. That's what it kind of looks like on a weekly or daily basis. We have a registers of engagement whereby each teacher for their remote learning group monitors whether the children have a high, medium, low or none engagement for that day. That then gets uploaded at the end of the day, ideally, or early the next morning by the teacher. So SLT are able to see what the levels of engagement are for each child. We then collate all that at the end of the week and have an overall percentage. So last week, our whole school engagement was at 87%, but that includes 50% online engagement from nursery. So if you don't include the nursery online engagement, then the number would be bumped up. The highest was year 3 with 97%. So we've really thought it was important to go for exactly what we would do at school if we were at school, because we, to try and not have to play catch up. So in terms of what's going well, I mentioned the high levels of engagement, especially from Key Stage 2. We've been able to supply all the children with a laptop who haven't got one at home. So we received 300 laptops from the DofE. So any class or child who's got siblings, or maybe they share a device at home, we've been able to provide them with their own individual one, which obviously removes the limitations for technology with the children, which is a massive bonus. We feel very lucky that we've been able to do that. The combination of live modelling, we also include some directed videos from Oak Academy, but we like the idea of doing the live because it gives that personal touch to the children. It lets them all see each other, see the teacher, ask questions. At the end, we always keep our registrations or our Zooms open for a few minutes after if the children have got any questions about the work. It helps us feed back to the children as well, of how they got on. If there was a wide scale area of if there was a 300 if there was a wide scale problem that the whole class had, then we can feed that back to the whole class. We set up wellbeing forums for the staff to feedback of how they're getting on, how they feel the workload is.
Sorry, Richard.
I thought I should save that till the end because I think everyone will be thinking about the laptops now. So we have regular wellbeing to ensure staff wellbeing. Probably 4 to 6 weeks. We also do phone calls weekly to the children. We prioritise the children who aren't coming to the registrations and the Zoom sessions, but we ensure that everyone is called at least every 2 weeks. We send surveys out to the parents as well for feedback, how they're getting on, what they think we could do to improve. And I guess that sort of leads on to the next one, which is our improvement. So recently we've been doing MER, so SLT have been monitoring the tasks that are set, dropping into live sessions, and they send weekly an overview of all the weekly feedback to all the staff, and then any individual feedback staff need, they will also get as well. Following the surveys and the wellbeing forums, we're introducing screen-free Friday afternoons after half term, so that children can get away from the laptop a little bit, because with everything being on OneNote and that acting as their exercise book, they are online all day. Okay, so we want to try and get them away from that a little bit, and introducing the Friday afternoons will help that. But we've also purchased sets of CGP books for all the children in the last couple of weeks as well. So the teachers are combining the OneNote with the workbooks as well. So for example, on Monday, we set maths, English and guided reading all through the CGP books, so that they were able to write rather than type, if you like. And then the final sort of way we're looking to improve, on the inset day, on Friday, we have Education City coming in and giving us some training. And that's based on sort of giving us more content, because we love My Maths, but we find My Maths is quite limiting, and there's not that much content on there. Whereas Education City will give us a broader range. And also Education City will market for you. They'll set up tasks for the children if they haven't got it. So again, for workload for staff, that will just help that no end. And finally, my last thing is sort of our 3-year plan. So we've been working on a 3-year plan with remote learning. So we've set that up. Remote learning is an area now that we want to focus on, we want to grow in, and we feel that the teachers have gained so many skills from doing this over the last 6 weeks, and it will be longer, that we want to try and embed some of the technology into lessons. So by using the laptops and other devices that we have at school, we want to sort of set tasks in class on the laptop. So the teacher might deliver the lesson in class and the task might be completed on the laptop. So it's about sort of having that familiarity with technology later in life, because we know how important that is, and setting children up for the future. That's can only be a good thing. So we don't want to, at the end of lockdown, forget about it all, and after equipping the teachers with so many skills, finishing it, we want to carry that on and keep that skill going. But yeah, that's it. That's us at Utrecht. Oh, I think you're on mute, Lisa.
Lisa's still muted.
Thank you, Joe. That's really fascinating, isn't it? Because I'm going to be very hesitant here because it's a long time since I did sailing. But my sense is with how we're learning is it's a bit like tacking. So rather than just going in a straight line, we're actually sort of having to sort of go tack this way, then tack this way and respond. So by Utrecht getting the 300 laptops, that then it becomes possible to do live, have be on screen, all the time. And then you have to think, do we want to be on screen all the time? So then you tack back slightly the other way. And I think for other, the decisions we make, there are trade-offs. So All Saints having the flexibility, you're going one way, and then you're thinking, how do we then make sure that we're engaging with the students face to face? So I think that seems to be the way we're going. But that's really interesting, Joe. And I think that's their commitment to EdTech and the partnership with those EdTech demonstrator schools, and to see what actually you extract from this experience that carries on and stays within the primary curriculum. I'm really conscious of the time. What we do have learned from this is that teachers just aren't very good at keeping to 5 minutes, but I hope we can stay with us because there's some more good stuff to come. So 3 really, really good things there. Okay, over to a Google world, because I think we've had Teams to date, Class Dojo. So Natalie from Causeway Green, calling Natalie, Causeway Green. Would you like to step up?
Good morning. Hi, good morning, everybody. Yeah, so thanks, Lisa. We are using Google Classroom at our school. Bit of background on us: we are 2 form entry school, 460 pupils online from nursery to year 6. We've got a higher than average number of LSP3s, which is quite pertinent to our decision making. On average, we've got 1 LSP in each class, plus an additional 1-to-1 for any children with the EHCP. So we're in a very fortunate position. Parental engagement proves to be very challenging for us. Some parents are illiterate and do not value education, but we do have a fabulous upbeat team. Of the availability to devices, initially we had 40 old devices, and like other colleagues, we decided that we'd recondition those. After the first lockdown and subsequent bubble closures, we realised that we needed a greater number than 40. We prioritised spending money on devices, and we began a systematic survey of the entire school, determining whether they had a device. Was it a phone? Was it a tablet, PC? Was it shared with siblings? Did they have the internet? And then we prioritised those 40 devices to go home to those homes that needed them the most in case of another lockdown. We then purchased another 110 devices in preparation for bubble closures, where we would loan devices out for the period of the closure. We have been really lucky to be granted more devices through charity funding and from companies, and our local community have also gifted some to us, and we're about to receive another 33 laptops courtesy of the DFE. We've also handed out quite a number of dongles. So from an early stage, we knew that we needed to safeguard staff wellbeing in our remote learning plan that we put into place. And we also wanted to take into account the community that we serve in terms of access. So we decided to go with live teaching for the entire day, using Google Enterprise rather than the basic Google Classroom package. This has enabled us to have registers taken, create polls, have breakout rooms, something that the basic package doesn't allow for. Initially, we did try some add-ons, as they were, but they tended to crash. So our pupils are expected to work directly off their Google Drive if they're capable. If they're not, they work on paper, they take a picture and then they upload it for it to be marked. We continue to follow our school's behaviour policy, and pupils have enjoyed achieving their growth mindset gems. We were determined to teach a broad and balanced curriculum, and we felt that live teaching would facilitate this to a higher quality when balanced with the needs of our community. To date, our pupils are being taught their usual timetable to include PE, music, art and guided reading. In September, within a fortnight of the school opening, our Year 6 bubble popped, which was really fortuitous for us as our computing lead works in this year group. And we very quickly worked out that our remote learning plan needed tweaking as our parents were not confident using laptops. So we actually amended our homework policy so that we were then setting our homework on Google Classroom, and all the pupils and staff spent time each week going through the process of uploading work and how to access it. When it came to the kind of January 2021 lockdown, we had laptops ready to go and most parents knew how to access Google Classroom. We did, however, then release our computing lead for a week and set up almost like a hotline, and it was one-to-one support for our community, and to date our engagement levels are around 80 to 90% each week. Where we have not had engagement, this has mainly been due to an EAL need, and despite parents being offered a place, they don't feel it's safe. Other engagement issues have boiled down to parental issues in terms of, they're saying that they can't make their children go online, or illness. In all cases where pupils aren't being seen or heard, we're carrying out phone calls and home visits and liaising with social workers where applicable. So engagement is the highest in the primary ages and poorest in nursery. We have a class award which goes to the class who have engaged the most per week, and certificates are sent out in the post to the children, and the classes have now become really competitive. In early years, we decided to move away from live teaching all day because we didn't feel that this was appropriate, but staff are uploading Loom videos which are highly engaging. Early years children are invited to join in at set times for phonics, daily reading, PE, music, end of day stories, and they also have dedicated times where they can work live within their family groups to continue their learning journeys and to work on that communication that they still need. We are about to embark with social registrations to enable our pupils to chat about their days before formal learning begins, so we're interested to see how that's going to kind of work out. And we've had an overwhelmingly positive response from our families, which has been a real morale boost for the team. So in terms of things that are going well, we are immensely pleased with how we've been able to manage staff workload and wellbeing. Our above national staffing levels for LSPs has really kind of come into its own during this pandemic. We've been able to safeguard the workload due to how we've organised staffing. So we have 2 teachers and 2 LSPs per year group, which has enabled us to have a rota system in place. So one week we will have a teacher and an LSP in school, and at home we will have a teacher and an LSP remoting in. The LSP and teacher at home have a number of roles to complete. The teacher will plan and prep for the next day, and the LSP will chase up calls to any people who's not online, and between them they will mark the work that children have uploaded. Meanwhile, the staff at school are teaching the key worker pupils and vulnerable pupils, and they are at the same time delivering exactly the same input to our pupils at home. As a whole year group, they decide which roles they need to be completed at what point in the day, because they like to utilise full staffing availability depending on what they're teaching. We are also really fortunate that we've also been able to ensure that our staff continue to have a dedicated PPA on Friday afternoon, which has helped with staff wellbeing. As time has gone on, we've tweaked things. We've trialled a screen-free Friday. We've introduced long screen breaks for all pupils at home during lunchtime to enable them to have some additional time to exercise and eat their lunch without the need for rushing. Another kind of positive thing that we feel is working well are the breakout rooms. So this has been a huge success for our SEND pupils. Parents in particular have been extremely thankful that we've been able to provide this element into our remote learning package. These have been really instrumental in our ability to teach those trickier elements of the curriculum, which we might not have been able to teach to the same level through remote learning. So, for example, last week I saw our Year 5 team teaching coordinates, and they wanted to have 3 additional breakout rooms online so that the input and the support and the questioning could be pitched at an appropriate level. We're also using breakout rooms during retrieval lessons at the start of each session to understand pupils' understanding and tweak the learning journey as we go. At Causeway, we have a CPD culture which runs throughout all that we do, and we are always looking for ways to upskill ourselves and the team at all levels. Remote learning has been no different, and like the colleagues that have spoken before me, we've had to learn and adapt as we've gone along. We have a culture of trial and error, so in regards to remote learning, good old Twitter has been a fab resource, quick to find things that work on Google Classroom that we didn't know about. We also have members and fellows in our school of the Chartered College of Teaching, and we frequently find good tips within the research from the Impact magazine that those members receive. At any one time, our team can be trying something new, bringing it back to the staff meeting, having a demonstration from the year group, trialling it, so that then staff can embed that back into their own practice. And this has really allowed for a clear consistency across the school. Currently, we've got a number of staff trialling and seeing the impact of a few things. So Mote is a voice notes and feedback app. It will help to increase engagement from home, especially for those pupils who are not able to join in with live learning as they've had to work around their parent shifts. Whiteboard.fi enables each pupil at home to have an electronic whiteboard. We hope this will be useful while we continue to deliver actual whiteboards to our pupils at home. We feel as though we need instant feedback from our children so that we can assess what they can do independent of their parents, because obviously we can never be quite sure. And finally, Now Press Play is an immersive technology where pupils are immersed in particular topics, such as Florence Nightingale. The children then have to act out scenes at home or in school and then bring their learning back into the classroom. And our Year 2 staff have reported that this has been thoroughly enjoyed by our Year 2 children. In terms of where to go next and even better ifs, we are constantly on the hunt for other ways to ensure that pupils are fully engaged through all aspects of learning. Our next steps are to consider how pupils respond to the marking of the work and ensuring that they're following through on next steps. We think that Mote's probably going to be a good way to do this, and this is the method that's looking the most promising at the moment. And that's us at Causeway.
Super, thank you, Natalie. And again, different things that are being tested and trialled, which I think some of you might want to follow up with, Natalie. I'm aware that some people, because this was initially scheduled as an hour, will have to go, but we will carry on, and then there will be a recording. I'm noticing in the secondaries that they're providing forums where just people could turn up and just explain how they're using Mote, how they're doing, how they're using insights. And I'm wondering whether actually often the remote leads in your schools might actually, if we had a sort of drop in, just advertising the bits and things that you're trying, because that's really is the culture in so many of the schools of just trying things out. What whiteboard.fi was one that I came across as well, and Mote that so I think if the people who've done the presentations want to drop into the chat anything they've used, that would be really helpful. Now, and the breakout rooms, I know there's breakout rooms on Teams as well as Zoom, and so I think people are starting to experiment there, so some people might be interested in following that up. Now, there's a bit of a switch. I've asked Grove Vale to share what they were doing, because I think that the thing that stood out from the conversations there was particularly around the well-being side of things. But I'll hand over to Michelle and Alex now.
Lisa, before you start, there was just a question from Matt at Blackheath, and he just wanted to know what the whiteboard app was that Causeway says gives their pupils an online whiteboard.
So it's called whiteboard.fi, and it allows you to see on your teacher screen 30 whiteboards that the children have got access to at home, and the children are able to write on that whiteboard and you can see a quick response back. But I'll put the details in the chat so everybody can see it.
Thank you, Natalie. That'd be really useful. Thank you.
Thanks,
sorry,
Kate.
Lisa, to interrupt.
That's all right. No, you're doing your job.
Taking very seriously.
Michelle and Alex.
Hi everyone. So I'm Michelle, I'm the deputy, and Alex is the computing lead and phase leader, and we kind of do remote learning together, but we've got different focuses within that. So I kind of oversee it all and support Alex, but my emphasis is on the monitoring of it. So, you know, I monitor the live teaching, pupil engagement, attendance, safeguarding, AFL, evidence that's uploaded. So I kind of do all that, whereas Alex is doing more of the technical. She's the wizard. She does all the technical support, the general support to staff and to teachers and training. So Alex is going to kind of talk to you today, but I just thought, you know, I don't know how everybody else is doing it, but that's kind of how we are doing it at the moment, with both of us, like, you know, helping each other.
I'm going to try and focus on the bits that we haven't discussed yet. So we developed a 3-tier approach to remote learning. So in the first lockdown, myself and my year group partner in Year 6 developed live teaching via Zoom, whereas everyone else was using SharePoint through Office 365 to upload work for the children. Key Stage 1 were given work packs at that point, but they still had access to online if they needed to as well. In terms of our technical support in school, we only have about half a day, so a lot of that has had to be done within school, but it has been useful in some respects because we've had to reflect on things and kind of problem solve as we've gone along. Within the tiered system, if children are off remote learning because of an isolation, if there's just one of them, they have a learning menu. Whereas if the whole class or a bubble go down, we live teach twice a day, and the work is uploaded via Office 365 on SharePoint. On SharePoint, we've developed like a filing system. So each child has a folder, and within there, they upload all their work every day. So they can choose to do it on paper, or they can choose to upload it. Or if we've set it on Purple Matter or something like that, they can save their work on there. And this has really helped with sequencing. So you can see everything that we've put on as teachers, but also they upload their work daily with the date on. So if you want to see a learning journey, you can just log back into a particular child's folder and look day to day at what they've done and how they've saved it. And this has been really good for our subject leaders. They've been able to monitor really effectively. With the tiered system, we also do like attendance and things like that online. We've bespoke our new system. We've kind of changed it a little bit for this lockdown with the whole school closure. We now have decided to do 3 days live teaching, with it alternating for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. One of the things that we have done, we've used forms quite a lot for parents to feedback to us. So on our first bubble closure, we sent out questionnaires to all of the parents, and every time we've had a bubble closure, they fed back to us. So we've kind of adjusted things based on their feedback to make sure that it's been effective for the parents really and for the children at home. So Key Stage 1 teach live on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And then Key Stage 2, and then Key Stage 1 teach live on Tuesday and Thursday. And it allows the Key Stage 2 and the Key Stage 1 to have a day of intervention in between as well. So if there's something that you've picked up on the day before, you can look through children's work or the feedback that you're having from the live lessons. We can then kind of schedule interventions for specific groups or children on the days in between. That's worked really well. And with the live teaching, you get obviously like feedback immediately as well. We've bespoke the Key Stage 1, so they, instead of having class teaching like numerous times throughout the day, they actually have group teaching, so it's a little bit smaller group work, particularly that works well for phonics and things like that. Another one of the things that we've kind of thought about is our curriculum, so it again runs alongside our interventions such as Nurture Continue. We're using LSAs as well, breakout rooms for those. So smaller interventions are going on throughout the school within every class as well. We've kind of sent out forms as well regarding social interaction. So children and parents have kind of said that they're missing out on that. So for specific children that we've kind of identified as vulnerable, we've put those into more intervention, but it's something that a lot of people I know have started to do, like off screen time, no screen time, and we do like a live social meet every week for all the children, and the children in school also attend those as well. We kind of think about when we're planning as teachers, when we can kind of incorporate the remote learning and in school in terms of the children meeting, and potentially some of the interventions, we've got children in school and remotely to join those, just to make sure that it might work better for them in terms of their learning. We've also offered surgeries as well for parents, so if they've got any technical issues or they've got any questions at all, we've offered that to them. We've also done that for the staff as well, to share good practice. A lot of our staff drop into each other's teaching and learning to have a look at what each other are doing, and if we've had any issues, like for example someone was talking about guided reading, we've kind of been able to come back together collectively and discuss those. In terms of the kind of nurture side and the well-being, on Friday in school we have developed a Feel Good Friday. So we've been doing this since the start of the year, haven't we? Feel Good Friday.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was going to say it's something that came about after the last lockdown, where we wanted to promote well-being and personal characteristics on a Friday. So it's something a brave decision that we did. But yeah, we do it on a Friday, and we still do it through remote learning.
And on that we do PSHE, we do picture news, we do online safety, we do like a key skill, so for example first aid, we do our interactions that day for social meetups, and with that it's just really helped kind of focus on that well-being and give the children a little bit of time to kind of reflect. Yeah. Oh, and then missed learning. So what we've done as well, we've kind of thought about if we've been struggled to find things to teach or ways to teach things. So for example, elements of PE we have found quite difficult, particularly like team sports and things like that. So we've, as subject leaders and as class teachers for each year group, we've put together a missed learning document, which is going to inform us moving forward for areas of the curriculum that we need to focus on. And we did that at the end of the last lockdown, and we named that the Bounce Back curriculum for our first term this year, which worked really well to ensure that we were kind of plugging those gaps that we found as like leaders or as class teachers.
Yeah, and I think for us to move forward is we just want to make sure that what we found is really beneficial is a sequencing document, but we want to make sure it's consistent in all the year groups. It is happening, but making sure that everybody's doing it and everybody's uploading. Also, similar to somebody else who spoke earlier, we've got an inset day on Friday, and we've got external provider giving us training, I think she's called Claire Gadsby, on effective assessment and feedback and closing the gaps in remote learning. So that's going to be interesting. And there's something else I was going to say, I can't remember what it was. It's gone, but yeah. But that's it. Yeah, that's the main things really, how we want to move forward. And that transition, the transition when children come back to school from being remote to being back in the classroom. We want to try and focus on that, the well-being of children then.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm really sorry because I know, Aileen, I had to leave you to last because I know that actually you'd already shared some things, but I'm feeling really guilty now that people are having to go, but we will keep going. Anybody got any particular questions for Michelle and Alex? I was really intrigued, and I did actually sort of say, what, you have all of Friday, every Friday as Feel Good Friday. You can tell we're Puritans, can't you? It's like you can't possibly have every Friday as a Feel Good Friday, and that you know, that focus on well-being, I found really fascinating. The phrase that sprang to mind, I can't remember who quoted it, but one of the things that really comes through how you are adapting things is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And whatever strategy you might be saying, what actually is coming through is it's because of the positive cultures in your school that's making it work, and that it's your culture that, you know, is managing the workload, and how teachers are dipping into other lessons and how they're checking in on people. I think that's what's really coming across. So last but not least, we've got Moat Farm Junior. Now Moat Farm Junior